What's up, YouTube? I'm Robert, and today we're going to talk about 10 mountain bike products that changed things for me. First thing, this list is not in order of importance. It's really just however I wrote it down. So let's go ahead and get started with what's in the box. The Bivo bottle. At its roots, it's a metal water bottle, which doesn't seem too exciting, but let me give you a little backstory. I used a plastic water bottle for years, and they always tasted like crap and also got hot quickly. Then the Podium came out by Camelback, which got hot a little slower, but still, when things warmed up, kind of make your water taste a little bit funky. And let's not go down a rabbit hole, but if it tastes like plastic, something's probably going on there, because I've never drank out of a glass of water and had it taste kind of weird. So along comes Bivo, and they have a couple of versions. There's the single wall version like this that warms up just about the same time as that does, but the nice part is it always tastes like water and never like plastic. So you might be asking yourself, well, what's the advantage of spending more just for the taste? Maybe not that. This is what really intrigued me. This thing will keep ice all day long, no matter how hot it is. And riding in Sacramento, where it gets over 100 on the regular, that was really impressive to me. But you might be asking yourself, how do you drink out of a metal bottle you can't squeeze? And honestly, they came up with a pretty ingenious little design that works really fast. It's unbelievable how fast you can empty a whole water bottle. So drinking it is definitely not a problem. I'd say if anything with the Bivo, you have to be a little careful on how quickly you drink it, because you could end up smashing this whole bottle pretty quick. Unfortunately, after they brought this out, Camelback saw what happened and they copied it. So if you're thinking about buying one, hit up Bivo. Honestly, support the small guy. To me, I think they're the original people that came out with it too, so they deserve the sale. Anyways, Bivo bottles. Pretty impressed. Let's move on. Ever since I started mountain biking, I always wanted to know how far I went, or maybe how fast I was going. And back in the 90s, it was a little cumbersome to come up with that. But later on with GPS and Garmin, things got super easy. That later evolved into a whole slew of products that are from heart rate monitors to power meters to watches, you name it. But at the end of the day, no matter which way you're getting that information, I think using a Garmin is something that really changed it for me. It went from just knowing how fast I went or how far I went to knowing how much elevation it was, or what my current heart rate is, or how many calories I've burned, also maybe what power I'm outputting. And all of those things in my mind have really helped me ride at a different level or have fun after the ride, looking at what my stats are. I have used pretty much every product that they've had. I really like the Garmin head units, just because compared to the watches while I'm riding, the watches just feel like they are jiggling around, and I don't usually like the way that they feel. The bigger watches like the Phoenix definitely is more cumbersome when you're using the smaller venue style watch. That doesn't bother me as much. I'll be honest, the heart rate monitor on these watches is pretty good. I tested it on a ride where I had the regular heart rate monitor on and one of the watches, and they weren't off too bad as far as the calorie count went. Maybe the heart rate would be a little weird here and there, but overall it seemed like it calculated well. If you're not using a Garmin, you're like, why do I need that? I can just start Strava for free. You're right, you can. Being able to look down at your handlebars and see that information at a glance is really, really something special to me. It really helps a lot. I notice it when I'm climbing, for instance. I could feel like I'm just really giving it all I got, but then look down and see my power and find out, oh, you know that you can push 300 watts for X amount of time and you're at 250 right now, so you can give it a little more. Or maybe sometimes where I feel like I'm just like really dogging, and I can look down and be like, oh, my heart rate's super high right now. No wonder I'm starting to get tunnel vision. Honestly, it's fun while you're riding. It's probably just as fun after the fact, looking at the data. And for me, I don't like riding without it. I just feel like it's a piece of the riding spectrum that I just love so much. And you can get fully in bed with them and even get a scale that has all your information all in one app. So big props to Garmin for everything that they've done. And hit subscribe if you want to see me compare the 540 and the 130, because that's the difference between a big one and a little itty bitty one. So on to the next thing. This is the Pedaling Innovation pedal. And it does a few things well, but the one thing it does the best is get other people on the trail to tell you how obnoxiously big your pedals are. But aside from that, it feels amazing to ride on. I went back to using flats for the first time about 5 years ago after riding clips for probably over 20 years. Aside from being obnoxiously big, I think what it does the best is that it really gives your foot a great platform to sit on. So instead of a regular pedal where you kind of feel like your toes and your foot is almost like curling over the edges of it while you're riding, this gives your foot more of a platform to sit on. So it works better to have the ball of your foot on the pedal and then also support that's closer to your heel. So think about how you do squats. You push with your whole foot, not just the balls of your feet. Like nobody does squats with like up on their tippy toes, right? So same thing should go with how you're pedaling. You're trying to push that same amount of force. And what this pedal does is allow you to push on a more balanced platform. Because the platform is so much bigger, it just gives you a much better grip as well. I think because the pins are spaced out a little bit more and there's honestly just a lot of them. The other thing that's a plus is when you have those moments where you're just real quick trying to get on the pedal or get through something and you maybe only get a tip of it, it doesn't necessarily feel super comfortable with a regular pedal. And I feel like because of the size of these pedals, when I have those moments where I just get my foot on real fast, but I'm not necessarily exactly where I want to be, that I still feel super comfortable and not like it's going to be sketchy. So at the end of the day, I will deal with people just telling me how obnoxious my pedals look because they feel that good. If you're a guy with big feet, this will be a game changer for you. And they actually have a set that is for people that have 13 plus. So you could try these up to a size 12 shoe. That's what I wear. These feel great to me. Or if you have giant feet like Sebastian from Normal MTBR, then maybe try the XL version. Some of the other pedal manufacturers now are starting to make a little bit bigger platforms, but not quite as big as this. And I've been trying those out. And to be honest, every time I get back on the bike that has the Pedaling Innovation pedals, they just feel good. So regardless of people telling me how dumb they look, I keep buying them. Those of you that watch the Lone Ranger channel know that Ryan also loves the Pedaling Innovation pedals and has been riding them for years as well. However, he threw a little monkey wrench into the situation with these new Outlier pedals, and I'm gonna have to give them a try because apparently I got a thing for weird pedals that have a big platform. But until then, I'm telling you, hands down, the Pedaling Innovation pedals are worth every penny. And use the link down below. It helps out the channel. Actually, all the links down below help out the channel. So if you see something on this video that's making you feel like you need to buy it, click the link below because it helps out. As you all know, the bike industry isn't doing great right now, and that means neither are the YouTubers. So that little bit of extra money coming our way helps a lot. It doesn't cost you any more, but definitely helps. So thanks if you hit the link, and if you don't, whatever. Right now it's spring, it's starting to warm up, and summer's right around the corner where it gets stupid hot. And if you're back east, maybe it's stupid humidity. One way or another, being hot as hell and sweating your ass off doesn't need to be as much of a problem if you try out the Tasco Fantom line. What is the Fantom line? It's a super lightweight glove and shorts that you can get from Tasco. And I'll tell you right now, these things are so light, you would think that if you wrecked, they'd just rip right up. And somehow or another, they're pretty damn durable. They also have some kind of special coating in them that's supposed to keep from staining. For the most part, it works pretty well. Every once in a while, that nasty red dirt that we have around here will set in a little bit, but nothing too bad. Let me show you something that's really cool. This material is super lightweight, and it has a billion little holes in it. And it makes riding in the summertime feel like you almost don't have shorts on. The same thing goes with the gloves. They're really minimalistic, really lightweight. I love how tight they feel in your hand. I will say that they tend to wear out a little bit faster than regular gloves, but I think that's kind of the price you pay for having something so lightweight. The thing that blows my mind about these the most is even though they're so lightweight, they don't feel like they really stretch out or bunch up in your palm over use during the day, which sometimes will happen with other gloves. So I think it's pretty rad how he made something so lightweight and breathable, but still performs just like a regular glove. These come in a bunch of different colors. You can go with the traditional black, this awesome blue, or green or gray, and if you want, you can mix them up a little bit. One of the other nice things about the shorts is they got some Velcro in here, so you can be fat, you can be skinny, but you can still wear the same pair of shorts. They also have this cell phone pocket over here on the leg, which a lot of people love because then instead of it being on your front pocket, it's kind of over the side, doesn't feel as cumbersome. I honestly really like the fact that my HoverAir drone fits perfectly into this pocket, and I can just zip it up and ride with the drone right there in my pocket and have no problems with carrying it at all. Hands down, pun intended, this line is the reason that I reached out to Tasco and asked them if I could be an ambassador or maybe we could do some kind of sponsorship, because I love this all summer and it's honestly the only thing that I want to wear. Tasco seems like they always come up with something a little bit different, a little bit out of the box, and the Fantom line has been a perfect addition to the collection. So go over to their site, tascostoke.com, check it out, and use code B1KER, save a little money. This little tiny thing right here is honestly one of the best things that's probably happened to mountain biking in the last 20 years. Commonly, people call this the bacon strip. And basically what it is if you have a tubeless tire, you get a puncture in it, you push this into the hole, and it plugs it up. It's that simple. They come in a really small size like this where you might need, if the hole's too big, you might need to use one or two of them. And if you have a really big hole, you can get these larger size ones that are kind of like for ATV or something like that, but they work well in a situation where you need to plug a really big hole. One way or another, this has definitely been a game changer. If you're not riding tubeless and you have tubes in your tires still, I'm telling you, there's so many advantages to having lower tire pressure and also not having to change a flat on some pesky little thorn that you rolled over or some little rock that sliced your tire a little bit. Before it would be a whole scenario of taking your wheel off and changing the tire, and now you just plug this thing into the hole, let the sealant do its trick, and honestly, you just can't go wrong with these. I've really gone minimalistic over the last few years, and I'm just carrying now a small little tube in here, some extra ones of these, maybe an extra battery for access or something like that, and then I got everything I need right there. That actually segues really well into the next thing, this OneUp pump. This is the EDC pump by OneUp, and it is amazing. I use the 100cc version. It's a little bit bigger. The amount of air this thing pushes is unbelievable. And inside of it, you have this little tool kit. If you unscrew this piece, boom, you got your little bacon pusher. Inside of here, you can have some bacon strips. I usually put a valve core in there as well. This tool here, that'll pop the quick link open. And then it has just a plethora of tools inside of it as well. It has some tire levers, which honestly, I do carry some Pedros in my bag. A chain brake tool, which I've used plenty of times. It's a little cumbersome, but it gets the job done. And honestly, you don't want to carry some huge tool around with you anyway. Inside of this little piece here, it's got these little holes that you can squeeze a quick link into. So it stores that for you in the future. And those have come in handy more than I'd like to admit. I used to be a guy that overpacked and I carried a lot of stuff. So I had a little bit of anxiety about paring down. And over the last couple of years of using this tool, my mind's been blown on, it's basically had me covered in every situation. One of the nice things that OneUp did is sell this mount separately. So you can buy a couple extras, put them on your other bikes, and just switch your pump in between. Then you have all your tools with you. So it's really nice. I will say there's some downsides though. This little rubber strappy thing, it'll break from time to time. So you're going to end up having to buy some extras. It is what it is. I mean, honestly, I've had these for years. Maybe it's just a me problem, but there's this knurling on the end of the pump. And as the pump slides around on your bike, maybe you're going through a lot of like gnarly stuff, it'll tend to rub on your frame and maybe scratch your frame. Because of that, I printed this little rubber cap and honestly solved all my problems that way. The other thing that you may have noticed is over time, the color starts to come off from popping it in and out of the bracket. I mean, it is what it is. I've had this thing for years at this point, so it's not like that happened overnight. And maybe you don't have to use yours as much as me. The other thing that's a little bit of a pain is this little rubber grommet. It holds the cap shut, and when it's new, it works great. But as time progresses, that starts to not work so well, and what'll happen is as you're like smashing down the hill, the cap will come open and it'll actually like kind of be banging around a little bit, and then it makes a bunch of noise. So what I did on my old one is just put this piece of Velcro on there, and it's just enough to like keep a little bit of extra tension on it, and it keeps it from popping open while I'm riding. This was recently updated, so I don't know if this updated version won't have this problem, but if it takes another 3 or 4 years to get to that point, I'm okay with it, because honestly, it's been a lifesaver more than once to not only me, but to my friends that are riding along. So if you really want to pare down your tool system, try this OneUp system. I can't speak highly enough about it. They did a great job. I did have a small problem with this tool tightening up as you use it. Like I said, there's a newer version out right now, so maybe they fixed that. Maybe they didn't. One way or another, it's not a deal breaker. It's definitely just something to keep in mind that sometimes you might have to loosen it up a little bit. All right, let's put this thing away and talk about what's next. What is next? Up next is USWE. And I know I'm saying that right because I had him on the Biker Bar podcast a while ago. If you're not familiar with that, I have another channel called Biker Bar. And I do interviews with different companies and other creators and some professional athletes as well. So check that out if you haven't before. Back to the bag. You know, I never thought that I would have switched from Camelback. I used their bags for years and years and years. BCPOV was using the USWE pack, and he was also filming with this additional piece that they have that's for an action camera. And I was like, you know what? Sometimes whenever I have a camera on and the bag, it just seems like a lot. So having something that was just all in one place, and my Camelback was kind of seeing the end of its day, I decided to give it a shot. They have this idea that they call no dancing monkey, and it's basically that your bag won't bounce around on your back. And after the first time using the bag, it blew me away. As soon as you first try them, they kind of sit a little higher up on your shoulders than maybe what you're used to with your Camelback, but they don't move around, and you don't realize that's a problem until you do. So I've really enjoyed this bag a lot. One of the things that's great about it is it has this little extra piece down here that comes out so that you could hold a helmet in it. And realistically, I don't use it ever for holding a helmet. However, I do use it for a chainsaw. You might not believe it, but it'll hold my DeWalt chainsaw with no problem. I can ride out to a tree that's down or go do trail work and just carry my chainsaw, put the battery usually inside of the bag. And honestly, it's been awesome for that. So once I had this great experience with the bag, I was also on the hunt for a hip pack that I could carry a fair amount of water in. And their bag was the first one that actually just fit my body perfectly. It has a really thick material belt that goes around your waist, and then the regular strap that goes on there like that. And then you can tighten it up and loosen it with these side straps, so you can loosen it while you're climbing and tighten it up while you're about to descend. It holds 1.5 liters of water, which is a lot of water. Once you add another bottle to your bike, it's almost as much as a big bag. And it's just been a really good bag. I've honestly had it so long that after years of doing trail building, and when you take a break, you sit back and you're kind of almost sitting on your bag, I actually broke the bladder at one point, kind of started to get a little hole in it. I needed to get a new bag anyway because, as you know, when you use a bag for a long time, the hose will start to get a little bit of maybe mold or mildewy or something in there. I never clean mine, so maybe that's my problem. So I needed a new bag anyways, and I updated it, and they changed the nozzle recently. So I actually really like the new nozzle better than the old ones. So props to USWE. Thanks for making awesome stuff. Honestly, you should check out their bags, especially this hip pack. If you have, like, I'm one of those guys with no booty. It's always sliding off my backside, and this thing fits perfect. And also, if you're a guy with a little bit of a beer belly, it doesn't dig into your gut when you're climbing. So these guys nailed it. They do have some extra straps for the bags that if you're a really big guy, that'll make the straps a little bit longer. I have heard some people ask about that. Personally, I don't have to use that, but overall, I can't say how impressed I've been with their bags. It definitely wasn't a product that I thought I was going to change to, and somehow it became my favorite. This product may not be for everybody, but it's definitely one for me. This is the Shox headphones, and they're bone conducting headphones. So the problem with the newer headphones like Apple AirPods and pretty much everything out now seems to be noise canceling. So back in the day, you could wear a looser fitting earbud and you could still kind of hear what was going on around you. But with those new ones, they're all noise canceling, and then you can't hear the bike, or you can't hear the sound of the trail or the person coming up behind you when you're listening to music. So with the bone conducting ones, they don't cover your ear hole at all. You can turn the music down. It's really strange how these things work. I would not have been sold on these until somebody made me try them on. It sounds like the music's coming from inside of your head, but you can still hear everything around you. And I love that. I can keep it down low while I'm climbing and reach down in my pocket and turn it up. There's actually buttons on it as well where you can turn it up and down, as well as skip the song that you're on. And these, for me, have just been great. I honestly love the ability to completely hear around me and not have to fidget with things in my ear. Also, I noticed that when I used to use like earbud style ones, that if you were out for a long day, maybe at a certain point of the day, it would start hurting the inside of my ear just from like that little touch point, where these don't have that, and that doesn't happen. So if you're a person that likes listening to music and you don't want to be like totally unaware of what's going on around you, definitely try out these Shox headphones. I don't like riding without them. I really, truly enjoy climbing with music or descending with something, you know, to put you in the mood. So this is definitely worth every penny. They're a little pricey, but as is any headphone that you buy nowadays. So if you're questioning using these over something else, go to your local bike shop or maybe REI or something like that. They may have a pair that you can demo. Once you put them on, that just definitely sells you. I pretty much, every person that I've had try these on, they're like, yeah, I'm buying some. Let's see what else we got on the list here. Ooh, this one's gonna be fun. That was a little aggressive. Everybody knows that the dropper post was definitely one of the greatest inventions that we've had. If you don't have a dropper on your bike, this is the first thing that you should buy over brakes, over tubeless, over anything. The dropper post totally changes the way that you ride. And I don't think that's a surprise to anybody that this is on the list. The one thing, though, that I do want to talk about that is a little bit unspoken is that these longer dropper posts are now a thing. This is a 240. I'm 6'2". I ride a large or an extra large depending on the bike, and I can put this thing in so that it is actually slammed all the way down to the collar, which means if I put the seat down all the way, that I'm definitely in a position where this thing is not getting in my way at all. It's super easy to get over the back. And there's tons of people that I see that their bike maybe came spec'd with a 150 and they have so much extra seat post hanging out. And when you ask them like, oh, don't you want a longer dropper? Most people don't realize how much it's in the way until you get a longer one. The downside is that some bikes don't have the insertion length, like maybe a Santa Cruz, the way that their shock goes through, you can't put this into the seat tube as deep. Maybe you got a 180 dropper and it's still sticking out about 2 inches, and they're like, oh, I looked at the insertion depth of the 210 and it doesn't quite fit. You may only be able to put the dropper in this far, but you can shim down the amount of drop. So then instead of it being a 210, maybe you can get it to 190 or 200 and then still be able to make it work. So there's a little bit of leeway there. I've definitely done that with the 240 on one of my bikes. It didn't quite fit, but I put in the shims, took it down to 230, and then I was able to fit it in there and it worked out just fine. Out of the two shim systems, the PNW is definitely easier than the OneUp. They both can be done by hand. However, the OneUp has a little bit of an advantage is that its insertion depth is about the same as the PNW, except for you get 10 millimeters more of drop. So that tends to be the reason that I go with the OneUp over the PNW. And honestly, they're both super solid droppers and you can get them in a bunch of sizes. I love that they have a 240 now. Before I get to the last one, I need to let you in on something. I couldn't pare this list down to just 10 items, so I have 2 honorable mentions. So after I talk about this last one, we'll touch base on the honorable mentions, which I feel like are a little niche, so maybe they don't belong in the list. But anyways, without further ado, the last one, here it is. Over the years, the derailleur's been changing a lot. It went from mechanical and wired to wireless with this access system, and it shifted really well. I'm not a great mechanic. I always have a hard time keeping things dialed, and the access definitely made that a lot easier to get it dialed right out the gate and to keep it doing well over time. What I did notice is that, you know, banging this thing off of rocks for 6 months, it starts to degrade in its performance. So when the new transmission came out, I was a little bit surprised to find out that this thing shifts perfectly always. I've only had 2 situations where the transmission derailleur has stopped shifting well, and one of them was my axle was loose. And usually whenever one of my friends is having a problem, I tell them to check their axle, and that tends to be the problem. The second one was this thing was literally bent at like a 90-degree angle, and I bent it back by hand on the trail, and it was still shifting, just not well. So that really surprised me. Then the other thing that was the real kicker is whenever I had to replace this part, I didn't have to buy a whole new derailleur. I could just buy this part. It was so simple to change. It took me like 30 seconds to unscrew this and screw the new one on, and I was right back in business. So big props to SRAM for bringing out the transmission. I know it has some downsides. Really, the cost is high, and the shifting's a little bit slow, but you get used to it. It's nice being able to pedal under load. And if you're a person like me that's not a great mechanic as far as it comes to getting your shifting perfect, this is so easy to get set and just forget. Those of you with the keen eye may have noticed the helmet in the thumbnail and wondered, hey, where's that product at? It's not the helmet I'm here to talk about. It's this light system from Outbound Lighting. They have definitely changed the night riding game. And for a long time, there wasn't really a package that came out that had everything that you needed. And they had this headlamp that has a beam pattern on it that's really good for a headlamp. And then they have this handlebar mounted part that you put on your handlebars so that you have some redundancy. Night riding really changes things. It makes your local trails like brand new trails again. And it's super fun and a little exciting to be out at night. So definitely having a good package with some redundancy. That way, if one of the lights goes out or something broke somehow, you're not just stuck on some trail bombing along and in the pitch black. Believe me, that's happened to me back in the day whenever I thought you only needed one and I learned my lesson real quick. That's dangerous. After me complaining that this headlamp wasn't quite strong enough, they came out with an even stronger headlamp. So if you're a guy like me that has some really long straightaways that you're picking up a lot of speed, a little bit more brightness on the headlamp is nice, and that's where this portal comes into play. They also make one for road bikes or gravel bikes. This thing's pretty sweet. It has a beam pattern on it that's really nice for when you're on the road. It doesn't shine higher and blind the drivers that are coming towards you. And it also has these little lights on the side that kind of illuminate your handlebars, which come in it's really nice to be able to look down and see. One of the things that I've always enjoyed about Outbound is every time I go and talk to them about something that I'm not happy with, they're actually already working on the fix. So with this headlamp, I didn't think it was quite bright enough for the straightaways, and they already were working on this. So the other day I was at Sea Otter and I was talking to them about their mounting system, and I didn't like the fact that whenever I put it on my handlebars, it's kind of cumbersome to take off, and I don't want to just leave it on there all the time. They already had a fix for that. So keep your eyes peeled. They have a little quick release system, so you don't have to leave them out on all the time. And I really enjoy that. So like I said, the last 2 are definitely a little niche. And since I'm a content creator, this HoverAir drone has been amazing. It's a drone that you can simply fold up and put in your pocket and take it out. You push one button, it goes up in the air and it'll follow you. It also has a bunch of like pre-programmed shots that it'll do that are really handy. It comes in a 4K and an 8K version. If you're not a content creator, the 4K version is probably just fine. One of the other things that's really nice about this is that you can use your cell phone as a controller to fly it, or you can buy these remotes as well. And if you use it like this, you can tilt it to fly it and the joystick, or if you stick it together, you can use it like a traditional controller and fly it around, which is awesome. And the thing that's really nice is that this all breaks down. And so then it's even easier to carry in maybe a hip pack than my DJI was quite of a pain to carry around. If you're thinking about getting a drone, the HoverAir X1 Pro and Pro Max are definitely the way to go. It's super fun to use. It's easy to use. You get some great shots. You don't have to be an amazing pilot to do it, or you can be a good pilot and get those shots that you want. One way or another, it's a bargain for the money. I definitely have really enjoyed having something this compact that I can take out and get some great shots on. So there you have it. That's my 12 things that I feel like changed mountain biking for me. If there's something on the list that you disagree with or something you think I missed, put it down in the comments. I'd really like to see what you guys think. At the end of the day, these are just my opinions. These are the things that really mean a lot to me, but maybe there's something else for you, and I'd like to see that. Thanks to all the subscribers, those of you on Patreon and members, I really appreciate you all. But remember this, even if you're brand new here, there's one thing that you can take away that's totally free. It only takes a bike to be a biker. Get out and be one.